Boye, anybody who's been my student for more than 45 minutes can probably tell you that they've heard me say that if you want to predict the future of Orisha lifestyle, then look to yoga, look to karate. Because in those practices, you'll see an ancient tradition that has been commercialized and altered to the point that it's pretty much irrecognizable in comparison to the original, right? What people are passing off as yoga or karate today, 99% of the time, has nothing to do with the real practice, unfortunately. And that is what I see as the future of Orisha lifestyle here in the West, particularly in the United States. And it's unfortunate, but I don't see any indicators that we're going to regroup and have this massive awakening, right? At the same time, I don't believe that our practice and tradition is just going to be totally wiped off the planet, or it's going to be corrupted entirely. Like yoga, like karate, you can go back, or you can go back and you can still practice the original tradition, or you can, see it and be involved in it at whatever level is permissible, right? Because in reality, everybody can't get in. Everybody can't just do whatever they want to do. That's one of the realities of these ancient traditions. It's not like, going to buy shoes or something. If you got the money, you can buy it. You got to be qualified. You have to do certain things to be eligible, right? But at least it exists in its pristine form in the home countries. And I'm sure that Orisha lifestyle will endure in that way. It's not going to disappear. But I do want to draw attention to the fact that it's convenient to seek somebody to blame, right, in this process, to say, well, why is the system being corrupted this way? Why is it being commercialized in this way? And it's very convenient to blame the Nigerians and other West Africans, right? It's their fault. They're selling it, cheap, right? They're selling it like they sold us, and people get all indignant. I don't want to defend it and say whether it's right or wrong, but I want to give you an analogy and ask you to just consider it. Think about it. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that you're from LA. I'm from Southern California, right? So in there we got the Crips and the Bloods, street gangs, right? So let's pretend that your brother is a lifelong Crip, right? Crips is one of the gangs. Your brother is a Crip. He's from a certain set, right, of Crips, a certain neighborhood, a certain group, right? And you grew up in the neighborhood. Your brother has been banging your whole life. You know all of the gangbangers, right? But you're a schoolboy. You've never been involved. You just know, right? You've been around. You've seen. You've been experienced, but you are not by any stretch of the imagination a Crip, right? So one day you're on Facebook and a guy sends you a message from Japan, says that the only thing he's ever wanted to do in his whole life was be a Crip. I want a Crip or die. I've been listening to this and listening to that, and I'm a Crip in my heart. And you're like, nah, man, you're from Japan, and there are no Crips in Japan. You cannot be a Crip. And he's insisting and insisting and insisting that he's a Crip. And then he drops the bomb on you and says, I'll pay you $350,000 if you will help me get fully jumped into a set of the Crips. Now everything changed. You immediately, your brother comes to mind, Pee Wee and them and Lil T and all. You say, okay, hold on, let me check something out. You go to see your brother, he say, man, I'm gonna give you $15,000. You go gather about 5 of your homies, and you give each of them a few $100s. We're gonna get this guy. We're gonna rough him up a little bit, y'all. Let him have it. Don't knock out his teeth. Don't loosen his eyeballs. Nothing like that. Just beat him. What I'm saying? Give him a feeling like he got jumped into the gang. We're gonna go out. We're gonna drink some 40s. We're gonna get him some good backyard boogie. We're gonna smoke out. We're gonna go to a couple of parties. We're gonna put him in the lowrider, right? We'll take him around. Maybe we'll get him a tat, right, on his arm. For all intents and purposes, he will be a Crip, and you will be a little bit wealthier, and I will be a little bit wealthier too. You do it, it works out well, you send it back to Japan. Next thing you know, he wants to come back with 4 or 5 other guys, all of whom are willing to pay you $350,000 to jump them into the Crips. Now, you make $50,000, and here come 5 guys now who are going to bring you $350 each. What are you going to do? You going to not jump them in? You're going to make sure that they know all of the history of the Crips, and they know all of the streets in South Central, and they're going to know all of the landmark. Are you going to do all that? Or are you going to get them in, collect that money, make sure they don't get hurt, and send them home? So, let us not look down our noses at our brothers and sisters across the water, right? They're doing what they can with what they have. What we can do is we can look at ourselves as the people who have this money, as the consumers, and we can examine our motives. You know that you can't just go and come back as a whatever, because you got the accoutrements. You can't go and come back and be that in one day, in 2 weeks. You can't do that, right? So it just like this guy can't come from Japan and come back as a Crip. So let's be fair. Let's be mindful. Let's be introspective, right? And evaluate our own, like I said, our own motivations, and find out, are there other ways in which we can go about our development so that we can really participate in the tradition in an authentic way, that we can actually develop and cultivate something within ourselves that will give us a connection to the thing that we're really seeking. Right? And that takes a little bit more time. It takes a little bit more patience. It takes a little more thought, right, to go into that process. And so I want to invite you to just slow down and look at where you're starting from, what you really want to achieve, and map out what's the best way for you to really accomplish what you're aspiring to in the first place. Aboro aboye, aboshishe.